Hey friends, I wanted to give everyone a closer look at the Eddie Van Halen Frankenstrat replica that I built a few years ago. It's been kind of an ongoing work in progress, but just a labor of love and something that I've really had a lot of enjoyment doing and a lot of fun building and tweaking and things. So start out here with the obvious. This is a road case from a brand called Concert Cabinet Company. It's not a real anvil case. They can run you a couple $100 easily. This was a pretty close version to what I would consider, an exact replica. Close enough. Found it on eBay again. It was like a direct purchase from the company that makes them. And then did a stencil logo here on the front with just some spray cans. It's a real easy process. Literally just put the logo through a laptop and a projector, and then covered the whole front face of this area with masking tape, and then with the logo projected on the front, then I just traced it out, and then took an X-Acto knife and cut out the outline and whatnot. So it is supposed to look a little rough because the original was just hand stenciled. So you don't really want a perfect block letters in there or anything. It has to be has to look a little bit hand drawn, and that's what we achieved there. So, and then on the back, I've also got the Hammer Guy. Let me make sure this doesn't open. I've got the Hammer Guy logo. This was a big decal, actually. I think one of the guys in one of the Frankenstrat builder groups on Facebook, or I forget. I think that's where I found it. It's also available on eBay, but it's like a 9-inch or 10-inch decal. Very cool. I'm not sure that it's exactly time period correct for when Eddie used the Frankenstrat, but closely thereafter anyway. And I just thought it was a cool touch. I've always liked that logo, and they used it in many areas, mostly like in a backdrop on the stage. All right, so take a look here at the guitar. The body actually was a Northern Ash body from KNE guitars, and the neck is a Mite. It's a Mite neck. So the neck actually came from a guy that I know up in Mundelein, Illinois, that owns a company called CEG Hardtails. I don't know if it's Keg Hardtails or CEG Hardtails, but super great to work with. He sent me this. I told him what I needed. It's a Floyd cut, compound radius, Mite neck. He did some fret work on it, rounded, crowned and polished, and took care of your basic fret work after that. The idea behind this, or when this started, the idea was to be very budget conscious and we tried to come in around $500 or so, and we got pretty close. But in doing so, we made some compromises with pickups and also the Floyd. And since it was completed, I decided to go back and actually upgrade some parts. So, all right. So besides the KNE Swamp Ash or Northern Ash body, we've got the Mite neck. We've got Shaler tuners on here. There we go. Shaler tuners, and of course the weathered eye hooks for the straps. There it goes. And actually I went through a source in another online forum and had some picks made. These are to replicate what he would have used back in that era. Very hard to find. I mean, if you look online for actual concert use picks, these can go anywhere from 50 to 100 and who knows what. So these look very similar to what he would have used with the old school logo. So I had those made, and a buddy shipped those over from the UK, which I thought was just an awesome touch. And of course, there's just gaffer's tape there holding it on, like he used to use. We've got the wire tangle there and the rusted out pickup selector switch going into a dead pickup. That's a non-working pickup, just like the original. I do have or what's on there now is an actual phenolic pickup cover. Phenolic is that material is like a fiberboard, and it's really weird. I don't think many There's not too many sources for it these days, but managed to find one to put on top of an old single coil to give it that same exact look. And I believe the origin of that was his original phenolic covered pickup was from Mite. And so that just gives it that look there. All the wire tangle and mess and all that was rusted and stained. There were multiple things used to give it that age look. I think there was a coffee mixture at some point to make those wires appear nice and brown and yucky. You can see the cigarette ash. We flicked a bunch of ash in there and then actually clear coated over it to kind of lock it in, because his is just absolutely nasty. So I sent this out to GMW Guitar Works last year, and the work that he performed on this was just amazing. Right off the bat, we jettisoned the Korean-made imported Floyd. It wasn't even like the FRT 1000 that Charvel's using. It was even below that. I think it was a special. So it was really crappy. I jettisoned that and put the German-made original Floyd Rose on it. It just makes a world of difference. And the other thing I had originally was a pickup by Guitar Fetish, and they called it VEH. Obviously, for copyright reasons, can't use EVH, but they dubbed it the VEH for Vintage Extra Hot, and it was a $30 pickup, and it worked pretty good. It kind of nailed that first album tone, but I happened to walk into, we've got a vintage guitar shop here locally, and I walked in there. They don't specialize in these types of things. They mostly have, old 60s and 50s and 60s instruments, and in his glass case was an actual EVH brand Frankenstein pickup that had been either unused or cleanly removed from another guitar, still in the box, and snagged it for $60. So I knew right away I had to have it, and I had to replace the cheaper one that was in here. So back to GMW, I sent it out there. He had to transplant the bobbins. So these bobbins, they all had to come off. In order to do that, you've got to unscrew the underneath side. You got to remove the screws out, and then break the ground weld on there, and then transfer that over to a pickup base that is what's considered a long leg base, or basically it's a Gibson height. I don't know how well you can see that, but it's a lot taller than your standard humbucker base plate that's just going to get adjusted from a pit guard, say. So anyway, that was one of the things that had to be done. You had to transfer all the bobbins over to this long leg pickup base. So that got accomplished there at GMW. And again, the Floyd installation with the EVH drop, or the D-Tuna, and then the neck profile was completely reshaped, and this is what really blew me away the most. So Lee stripped down all of the finish, first and foremost. He stripped down all of the finish. And then what I told him I didn't like about it was kind of, Fender Stratty, your basic C-shape profile. And it just didn't feel as good as any of my Charvel necks. So, he basically said, you want the Charvel speed profile. I said, all right, well, what does that mean? So we started out up here at the first fret. The thickness was, I think it was 840 thousandths, and he trimmed it down to about 790. So he took about 50 thousandths off of the back there at the first fret, and of course carried that on up to the heel there, and just reshaped the whole thing to match what they call a Charvel speed spec. And ever since then, it just feels like, it was meant for my hands, which is great. Then of course he did his typical milling and dressing of the frets, recrowned. He rolled the fretboard edges for me, as all part of the service that he performed on it. The neck was slightly out of alignment within the pocket, and that's just for my quick throwing this thing together and a little bit of lack of experience. And so he had to reset the neck in the pocket and line everything up really good. And now it just absolutely plays like a dream, stays in tune. You can dive bomb on it all day long, and comes right back into tune. So on the back, we've got the 42 millimeter brass, big sustain block there. It's got the correct reflectors from the truck stop that wasn't from the same truck stop, but these are what they call the truck stop reflectors. And if you look at the $25,000 Fender version of this Relic version, the reflectors they use are not correct. So when you go to build one of these, you'll read all kinds of articles how they don't have that that shape inside, that kind of honeycomb shape. These are the correct ones. And again, it's not real hard to find. You just gotta kind of look for them and know your source. But that was one of the integral things. Of course, all the relicking just done by hand, and we've added some yellowing in areas to kind of simulate nicotine stains. All the cigarette burns are legit; those are real cigarette burns. Tone knob for the volume. It's all dirtied up, nastified. Underneath the pick guard, I won't be able to really show it that well, but the entire pickup cavity has been shielded with that copper shielding tape, and it just plays really, really good. Oh, the EVH strap, of course, with the snap hooks there. Goes on those. So yeah, that's pretty much about it. And I'm not going to plug it in or play anything. It's just a real quick video here on my lunch break. And if you want to hear it, you can actually check out the rest of my channel. I've got a video of Casey Harshberger playing this thing, and he just shreds on it. And even through a tiny amp, it just sounds massive. So, but there you go. That's my EVH Frankenstrat replica, and hope you enjoyed.